Okay, you guys, I don't know the last time I was this excited for an episode of Seeing Other People. We have had therapists on the show. We have had comedians. We have had doctors and lawyers and normal people. Today we have a magician, which is so freaking cool. We have Max Davidson, aka Max Davidson Magic. He is an award-winning magician. He has performed at places like Caesar's Palace, Disney World, Zero Bond, and for companies like Apple and Google. And he also produces Stand Up Magic, which is a hilarious and phenomenal comedy and magic show. We will talk so much more about that. He is here today. Max Davidson, welcome to Seeing Other People.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. This is awesome.
You did a great job at that because usually when people introduce me onto their podcast, I feel so awkward.
Oh, I definitely feel awkward, but I'm used to it because like I'll do a magic show and someone will give me my intro and I'm just used to being like, you just kind of have to sit through it. But thank you. It was a very nice intro.
So much for us to talk about today.
Yeah.
Before we dive in head first, why magic?
Yeah, great question. I saw magic when I was 6, so shout out to my grandma for taking me to the store in Denver, Colorado, where I grew up. And
love. What's your grandma's name?
My grandma, I call her Mimi. Her name is Terry, but
shout out Mimi.
Mimi to me. Shout out Mimi. Yeah, we went to this store, which is like a costume shop that just had a little magic counter. And this guy showed me a trick when I was 6, and she bought it for me for like $8, and like one of the, some of the most consequential $8 she's ever spent because it launched my passion. And a lot of kids have just a magic hobby when they're when they're young, and for me, I just ran with it. But when I was a kid, the why magic was probably just like, it got people's attention, made them look at me. But now it's like, it's such a very interesting way to connect with people. Mm-hmm. Magic is a way to show people like a genuine surprise. And we don't get that in life very often. And like when we were doing a lot of shows this summer, like we did a tour this summer, and a lot of people would be like, oh, it's just been a while since I've like had a good surprise. And so it's really, really nice to be able to bring that to people. So that's definitely like the why that's motivating me now.
I love that. I also have to mention, like, you probably are one of the few people who in your middle school, high school yearbook, it was like, what do I want to be when I grow up? Like, you probably actually became that.
Yeah, no, I did, which
crazy.
Which is crazy.
That never happens.
No, it doesn't. It's ridiculous.
I wanted to be a pop star.
And now you're a podcast star.
Don't ask me to sing. Completely tone deaf. But that is really cool and really special. Was anyone in your life surprised, or were they like, this makes sense?
No, I think 0 people were surprised. I think sometimes people are surprised that like we actually did it. Like you probably get surprised that you're actually doing it as a podcast host, right? Because it's like, you're like, oh yeah, sure. But it's like, no, you're actually doing it. No, but I was really lucky. Both my parents were incredibly supportive.
Awesome.
Even though like my dad's a doctor, like very conventional career. My mom started out in like marketing, and now she actually does like divorce coaching and her own like very interesting. Yeah, she has.
I should get her on the podcast
you should get
too.
Her on the podcast.
Wow.
Yeah, no, she does a lot of really cool stuff. And so not magic for either one of them or anything close really, but they were incredibly supportive, which is awesome. And so it's
amazing.
Definitely, I feel very, very lucky.
That's amazing. And I love what you said about like the element of surprise and, human connection with magic, because I'm thinking about it, like when you go to a magic show, you're so present.
Yeah.
And your phones are down and you are there interacting and engaging and connecting. And I feel like we just as a society are trying so hard to find experiences like that and moments like that. And it's so special that you're able to give people that.
For sure. Yeah.
Whether at a show or one-on-one or on this podcast.
Absolutely. Yeah. We'll do magic on the podcast.
That's
for sure.
So cool. Okay. Tell me a bit about Stand Up Magic.
Yeah. So it's a good like New York story of how it started, which was I moved to New York 2 years ago to do professional magic. And I had nothing. I had no gigs, very, very few connections. And I ended up at West Side Comedy Club on the Upper West Side watching a friend's comedy show that he produced. And then after the show, found myself in a conversation with him and the booker of West Side Comedy Club, who was like, oh, we're trying to increase our programming on Sundays. Like, do you want to do a magic show? And I had no work. So I was like, yeah, I'll put on a magic show for you. And it was at a comedy club. So I called it Stand Up Magic. And that was that. And then we did it once in like March of 2023. And then we did it again and again. And then eventually moved to Williamsburg to a bar called The Gutter in Williamsburg.
Which is also a bowling alley.
Also a bowling alley, which
amazing.
Is sick.
What more could you want?
Nothing.
Literally.
It just fit our vibe better. And we've been there since July of 2023. And so the show is magicians and comedians and the occasional variety act. We've had like a knife juggler on there. We've had like a ventriloquist. We've had a lot of other really fun stuff. But it's cool because there's so much great magic in New York City. It's outstanding, but a lot of it is you kind of get what you pay for. Like it's an expensive ticket, and those shows are all worth it. Like I could recommend every single one of those shows right now. But there wasn't a magic show for like people like me, like in your 20s, who still want to have a high quality experience, but you don't want to spend like $200 on a ticket.
Yeah.
And so now we have this like dive bar comedy magic show that's $25, and I love giving that experience to people.
It's also so much more approachable and non-committal.
Yes.
Like, I mean, I bought for my husband and I, we have tickets to go see a magic show. We spent like $500 on them.
Yeah.
That's a big
thing.
expense.
Yeah.
And that's not something you can do on a whim with your friends or on an early date. This
Exactly.
is like $25 tickets,
Yep.
cheap drinks, no drink minimum, which the comedy shows get you there.
The comedy shows get you there. There's no drink minimum, which is
I hate a drink minimum.
Yeah, I hate it too. I hate it. When I produce shows in other venues, like I'm way less likely to choose that venue if it's going to be a drink minimum because it makes the experience for the audience worse.
Yeah.
So I like it when I can say like it's literally like the ticket fee is baked into it. So it's like whatever. I don't want to sound too much like an ad, but I like it because
I'm also just fascinated by the whole concept of like buying tickets for things because it's outrageous sometimes.
It is, and so I'm happy that we can give people like. There are very few things that I think are like cheap in New York, but I think it is a cheap ticket and you do get a high quality experience, which makes me very happy because I'm creating the show that I would want to see. I'm creating the show that I would want my friends to see. And so that's really nice.
And for an early date, it's such a great concept because like we said, it's affordable.
Yep.
And it ends early.
It ends early. It ends at like 8:30. And here's another fun thing that makes it a good date. And my good friend Justin has talked about this with me a lot, where magic gives you something to talk about.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
You can converse and connect on what you just saw afterwards.
Yep.
And bowl.
And bowl.
And keep drinking if you want.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay. So January 5th is the next show.
Yeah. So we are on a little holiday break and then normally we're every 2 weeks. So January 5th is the next show and then we're every other Sunday.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Where can people buy tickets?
They can buy tickets at standupmagicnyc.com.
Hell yeah. We should do like a seeing other people stand up magic like buyout one day.
100%.
Like get all the SOP fans.
Yeah, let's do it.
I'll be there. Okay.
Done.
We'll work on this.
We'll do it off the air. Yeah.
We will work on this. Okay. So with the show or any shows that you have done, have any like magical moments or crazy moments, hilarious moments happened while you're there?
Definitely. Like while I'm on stage.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, funny things happen all the time and dealing with relationship dynamics are very funny. One thing, this was me when I was less experienced, and so I let this problem happen, which was one of my favorite things to do is like guess people's phone passwords sometimes.
Whoa.
So like on stage, I'll guess someone's phone password.
Wait, can you guess mine?
We could probably guess it.
Live guessing?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it when we have it takes a little bit of time to do. So yes. But when I was doing this was like years ago at this like walk around gig, like there was a couple, right? And I was like trying to guess this woman's phone password, but you could tell her husband was just not into the magic anymore. And not only that, he did not know her phone password.
Oh my God.
So it was the wrong time to do it. And so it's like I've definitely learned of like I'll usually like ask before a show, like, oh, is it okay if I try and guess your phone password? Or like if I'm doing it in person, I always ask if they're okay with it. Purely because you don't want to create those conflicts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You want to acknowledge the relationships if you see them.
I always think about that when I've been at comedy shows of like, okay, the people that they're picking on, are they on their first date or are they in a long-term relationship?
Yeah.
Like, is that like we see age differences? Like I talk about age gaps a lot. So like, is it like a father and a daughter, or is it two people who are dating?
Yeah, and you want to be so cognizant of that.
Yeah.
You want to, and I've learned to be so as cognizant of that as I possibly can.
Oh my God. Do you approach everyone? Well, so you ask beforehand.
I'll ask beforehand, or really for a lot of different. Yeah. Like sometimes you'll just gauge. Like another fun thing that I do is like I'll memorize the names of audience members. And then I'll like recite them on stage. So like I'll walk around the audience before the show, meet them, remember their name, go on stage, and then recite them from memory, right? So I'm meeting everyone before the show. That's
the most impressive thing I've ever heard in my life.
Oh,
if you offered me $1 million to go around a room with 20 people, learn their names, and then recite it, I can't do it. I'm so bad at that.
We've all got our skills for sure.
This is true.
But that's my niche. So because I'm doing that, I'm meeting people before the show all the time. And so I'm always trying to gauge their interest of, is this the kind of person who wants to come on stage? Is this the kind of person who doesn't want to come on stage? And I think it gives me an advantage just meeting people before the show. It's just like you can start to understand because some people are super down, right?
Yeah.
They sit in the front row, they're ready. Some people sit in the back row and they don't want to come on stage. And both of those things are kind of okay. Everyone wants to experience the show in a different way.
So true. Me and Jake always argue this whenever we're going to any type of show. Like, I want to be the one picked on.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, we have to get there late so that we're in the last row seat because I don't want anyone talking to me.
Totally.
I'm like, no, like, isn't the point like to get picked on?
I mean, I think it is. And I think I make a very considered effort, and my co-producers, Jason and Tess, we all really do of like, we don't want people to be embarrassed. Like we don't want people to walk away having had a bad experience.
Fair.
And so it's so important to me that if I'm using someone on stage, I'm treating them with respect. Like that's essential to me, that they walk away with a really, really good story.
Yeah.
But you can still figure out, like there are some people who just straight up ask me, I do not want to go on stage. I'm like, then I'm not going to put you on stage because you're not going to like that.
Absolutely.
So that's totally fine too.
For sure. Speaking of Tess,
Yeah.
shout out former SOP guest Tess Trigelis.
Absolutely.
I've never seen a funnier piece of content than you're in Tess's half marathon.
Thank you.
So for those who are like, Alana, what the hell are you talking about? Max and Tess did a half marathon as a bit for content, pretending they were getting married during it.
Yeah.
Like full on running a half marathon in a suit and a wedding dress.
Yep.
Where did this idea come from?
This came from Tess completely. After we did Stand Up Magic one time, she was like, will you pretend to be my husband and run a half marathon? I was like, absolutely, I will do that. And to clarify, we're not dating, we're just friends, but we were just like fully committing to the bit, which was awesome. And yeah, I mean, shout out to like running in a suit was really hot, and we both had like running shoes on. But man, she had to do it in a strapless wedding dress.
With her hair down.
Yeah, it was incredible. Tess did not look tired at all. It was outrageous, and it was crazy. I actually I'm a performer for a living, so like I feel very comfortable in front of a crowd. I feel very comfortable having people look at me. But it was like, I also felt very uncomfortable because it was like, oh, we're not telling the truth. Like, we're not actually getting married.
I'm sure everyone was freaking out when they saw you.
We probably heard people say congratulations like hundreds of times. Because
So
everyone
funny.
who passed us, we weren't going fast, so we were getting passed a lot. Everyone who passed us was like, congratulations. You're just like, thanks. We appreciate it.
Oh,
but we committed.
God.
Like, if they said, are you getting married? We'd be like, yeah, at the finish line.
That's so funny. That's wild. And now you also probably learned that if you could run a half marathon in a suit,
you can do anything.
you could do, yeah.
I think eventually we want to do a full marathon. It would just take so long, but I think we would do it.
Oh my God. You'd still finish before me. I'll see you at the 2025 marathon. What? Who said that? Okay. Obviously, magician, some might say is an unconventional career path.
For sure, yeah.
What are some misconceptions about magic or being a magician?
I think the big... the public doesn't have a lot of access points to magician in the way that you would for like doctor or lawyer or just a more like conventional career. So your perception might be, oh, it's Job from Arrested Development or Now You See Me. And you can't blame anyone for that. I love Arrested Development. I love Job. So I'm not trying to criticize that on any level. But that's probably your entry point to it, which is going to be like a nerdier, antisocial person. And sometimes that's the true thing. Like some magicians are nerdy and antisocial, as I guess in any career. But for me, what I like, and having met so many magicians throughout my life, is that there's a lot of people who are awesome and super creative too. And so, that stereotype is not always true. But I also have learned to not really get upset or care so much if that's what people think, because it's less like that just is their entry point to it.
Right.
That just is how it's portrayed. That's totally fine. That's not their fault. I think that stuff is hilarious. Like, so it doesn't really bother me too much.
Yeah. And if anything, you're given the opportunity to change their mind.
Totally. If anything, they're coming with a low bar, you get to exceed their expectations versus the opposite of like a super high bar. Now you have to meet that. So it's like, I'm fine with it.
For sure. Yeah. I think it's cool that you're in the opportunity to say, hey, that might be what you think and that's totally okay, but let me show you a different side of it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Biggest question, and there's so much to talk about here. You're a magician.
Yeah.
You're also a man.
Yep.
You are also in the dating world.
Yep.
What is it like dating as a musician? I knew this was going to happen.
That's normal.
I knew. I was mentally preparing myself all day to say magician and not musician. I was
so
practicing it out loud. Okay. What is it like being in the dating world as a magician? We've talked to so many people in different professions, and there are so many nuances with each of them. I imagine yours is no different.
Yeah, there's absolutely. And I'm very happy with it, to be honest. Like, I feel really lucky because like I get to meet people for my job. Like I'm constantly around new people, which is awesome. And I also just feel like I'm doing a thing that I wanted to do since I was 6. So I feel incredibly lucky to get to do that. But like I wake up every day and I'm excited for what I get to do. Yeah. And so it's less about that it's doing magic and more for me, it's like I'm just doing a thing that makes me very happy, that I'm passionate about, that I feel like is putting good things into the world. And I think that just makes me a better person. And so hopefully that comes across to women, I guess, to anybody in my life.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great point. I know for so many people, when they're figuring out what they want, it's not necessarily like somebody in this field or somebody with that degree. It's somebody who's passionate about something, whether
Sure.
it's the job they have or a hobby of theirs.
Yeah.
It's just having that actual passion, that thing that they love.
Mhm.
That was something that was really important to me. I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't care what this person does. I just like I'm so passionate about so many things in my life
Yeah.
that I couldn't imagine being with somebody who wasn't passionate.
Yep, I completely agree. And then obviously there's the logistics of like, okay, I work nights and weekends a lot of the time. So that
Right.
can be challenging.
Has that been hard or presented challenges in dating situations? Not about, going on dates, but like they're, like maybe dating someone who's a little more anxious and like wants to hear from you on nights and weekends and isn't hearing from you.
Yeah, I feel like I'm a relatively communicative person, so it's not a huge deal where I can be like, I have a show from this time to this time.
Yeah.
And they just know they're not going to hear from me in the same way that I wouldn't hear from them if they were like in a meeting. So I think that's okay. I think the harder part is travel, where like Tess and I went on tour for the entire month of August. We're going on tour again for the entire month of March. We're going to do the Edinburgh Fringe Festival in Scotland in August, which is all really exciting stuff. I'm hyped for it, but I'm not going to be in New York. So that I think is the bigger potential issue. Whereas like people have crazy schedules in New York all the time, and like I'm not working a 9 to 5, but I think that like literally being out of town, it poses more of a potential issue to dating than the actual shows might.
Have you ever run into a problem, or could you ever see this happening where someone on either side is jealous of how close you and Tess are and how much time you spend working together?
Yeah, I think it's possible. I mean, Tess is in a relationship right now. I'm assuming it's fine for me to say on air, but yeah,
Crickets.
she's in a relationship.
Yay, Tess!
Which is cool, and he's a great guy. So I think that they could be jealous of that, but I also think we're all pretty mature and adult, and it's just not that big of a deal. Yeah, I think on the outside people could see that and totally get jealous or confused or something like that. But yeah, she just happens to be a really great friend and colleague, and I'm lucky that I get to work with her a bunch.
Oh, I love that. The two of you together are perfection.
Thanks.
Okay, so with meeting people in person, in real life, have you ever met somebody that you've ended up dating from one of your shows?
So I have not been in a relationship since I moved to New York 2 years ago.
Okay.
I've been dating for pretty much the entire time. My last relationship was college. But yes, I have gone on dates with people that I've met at shows, which is honestly nice because, yes, I'm very happy with my career, but magic is an unconventional thing. Mm-hmm. So if you go on a Hinge date and you tell someone you're a magician, you have a lot of explaining to do. And that's not a bad thing. It's just like that's just what would happen if you do something that they haven't experienced before, right? That's super normal. Whereas if someone has seen you at a show and they want to go on a date with you, A, that's very flattering. That's great. And B, you've explained it already. They saw it. They went.
They're supportive.
They're clearly supportive. They saw you perform. They were like, that magic trick was so good. I want to go on a date. Right? It's like, all right, perfect. So it has the times that it's happened. It's really nice because it's just like, cool. We got that thing out of the way, and it means a lot that you would want to see the show and have something else happen.
Yeah. Are you on the apps?
Not currently, no.
Okay. When you were on the apps, did you have magician as your profession?
I've thought about this a lot. No. I had entertainment industry on it. And I had a picture of me in front of a crowd wearing, I think, this T-shirt. Like you couldn't really tell. You could tell I was in front of a lot of people, but you couldn't tell what I was doing. I'll tell a funny story, which was like, I don't know, 6 months ago or something. Someone matched with me on Hinge, messaged. It was like, oh, are you also an actor? And I was like, oh no, I'm a magician. And then I checked back a few hours later to see what she said, and then unmatch.
Oh my God.
And I was just like, okay, that's totally like
that's on you.
Yeah. If that's the reaction, then we wouldn't have worked in person. So like,
right.
Who cares, right? But it's more like I used to have a joke about it on stage of like, it was no one's dream to date a magician, right? People still do it, but no one sat as like a little girl when they were 6 being like, that's what I want. And
no one's parents are like, I hope my daughter comes home with a magician one day.
No one said that. No one has ever said that before. And because of that, I'm just like, why would you put yourself on the back foot when you don't have to? Mm-hmm. Like, I know that when I talk about it in person, I can explain it perfectly fine, or I can do a trick for someone, and that's not even remotely an issue. why on this thing where you're getting like a tiny little sliver of that person's life would you introduce this potential misconception that's just not going to help either of you, you know?
That's exactly what I was about to say. That it goes back to the misconceptions of you're not even getting the opportunity to elaborate on it, to explain why you do it. You're just saying, this is here, judge me however you'd like.
Exactly.
Which, that's one of the problems with dating apps.
Yes.
Why did you decide to go off them?
I just like the dates. Well, I guess multiple reasons. I was meeting enough people in person that it wasn't a huge issue, and those were better just because they just seemed like more authentic connections. Whereas the dating apps, I maybe have done like not even that many. I've probably done like 5 or 6 Hinge dates in my life, or like 5 to different people, and they just weren't as good. And so just like I was just like, all right, it's just like at the end of the day, you're swiping, you're scrolling. I don't think it was the greatest thing in the world for my mental health. And I was like, if I was working a desk job where I had no interaction with other people and that was the only way to meet people, fine. But I'm a pretty social person. I have a lot of different friend groups. My job is to be at events. Not that I'm like just like going to do magic shows to meet people, but it's like I meet people in everyday life pretty frequently. Yeah. So I was just like, if I'm not benefiting too much from it and I don't like strictly need it, then I just got off of it.
As someone who is very comfortable meeting people in real life, a lot of the people listening are not. But they really want to be. They want to be doing what you're doing and not having to rely on the dating apps. What advice could you give them about some of these in-person interactions?
I honestly think, like, if you do the work on your own, you will then come through so clearly in person. And what I mean by that is, like, I have the things that I love that I just work on regardless of if I'm seeing someone or not. Like, I'm always going to be working on magic. I'm going to be running or reading and doing the things that I really, really love. And when you tell someone about that and you can communicate to them who you are, I think that just makes you a more attractive person. And so it's like, I don't know. I also can be a very, like, I wouldn't say super socially anxious, but like put me in a party where I don't know people. Like I'm not the most outgoing person either. Even though I'm comfortable on stage, you know, like there are different things. But I do think that the more that you can like do the work by yourself and have those things that you're confident in, just allow that to be expressed to other people. It's amazing. And just let that kind of joy shine through. I think that just helps. Yeah,
I love that. When it comes to the dates that you go on, do you feel pressure to quote unquote perform?
To an extent. I have felt more pressure on the Hinge dates where I'm like, oh, I need to prove it to you because you're going to be skeptical.
Because you don't know what I actually do. You don't know what it looks like, what it sounds like.
The girls have had every right to be skeptical. Like, what if I was on a date with someone and she was like, I'm a ventriloquist, I'd be like, that's sick. Prove it. Like, so to an extent, yes. And also to an extent, no, because I think that I'm interesting enough person outside of magic that I can like hold like I have so many other hobbies like outside of it that I'm totally okay not talking about magic. And so yes and no, I've felt pressure, but it's also fun to do. Like if you're close with a person, like, and you can create little moments of them for them.
Do you feel pressure to perform on this podcast?
No, but you want to do a trick?
Hell yeah.
All right. So
look at that segue.
Look at that. It was so smooth. So this is fun. This is like a travel Scrabble game.
All right, we got a travel Scrabble game. For those listening, go watch this.
Yeah,
on social media,
YouTube. But I'll try and narrate
on
it as much as
Instagram,
possible. But you can acknowledge that these are all different.
Deck of cards with letters on them.
Incredible. So, you know, have you ever been at a party and someone says like Alana and you just immediately turn around because you can recognize your name,
Definitely.
Right? So I bet you're going to be able to find the I card, even though it's face down. So just put I know we're kind of far away, but maybe just put your finger down on the card, just on the back.
Okay, he's just showing me like a whole deck of cards and I'm just randomly putting my finger on one.
Yeah, whatever you want. Stay close to them. Amazing. This one, you sure? Yeah. You don't want to change to the other one that looks appealing?
No, I'm sure.
All right, I'll show it to you. You can stop stretching. I'll show it to the camera. How did you do?
Oh my God, what?
Oh, you did. Oh, you found the I card. That's great.
Wait, what?
But maybe we take it up a notch. And they're not all I cards, right? Just to be clear.
No, they're not.
No. So I'll tell you what. How about you just start mixing some of these? It doesn't have to be like a crazy shuffle. Okay. And instead of thinking about you.
No, I'm really good at shuffling.
You're good at shuffling. Yeah. Oh, incredible.
Big shuffler. Big shuffle energy.
While you shuffle, think about your husband's name is Jake, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so think about Jake.
Oh my God.
And I want you to picture, you remember your first date with Jake?
Yeah.
Okay, picture your first date with Jake. Picture Jake walking up to you.
Being outside in 20-degree weather at Quality Eats.
Incredible. You could picture like Jake's hobbies. I don't care. You're just picturing your first date with Jake, and that's amazing. As you're shuffling the cards.
Still shuffle.
Yeah, and then when you're done, let me know.
Okay, I'm done.
Okay, here. You shuffle mine too. They were like the camera's so far away. Or the microphones. All right, shuffle. Just so we know.
Shuffling ASMR.
It's satisfying sounds, right?
Yeah, it is. Okay.
All right, Alana, are you content that these are shuffled?
Yes,
Okay.
they're shuffled.
Amazing. So these are going to be for you then. And I want you to just take them and as if you're dealing a game, just like deal a card to you and then to me and just do this like a couple times. Perfect. Let's do, yeah, you can pick that one back up. So like, what is this? Is this four?
Four each.
Four is perfect.
Okay.
Four is enough. So these are the ones you dealt to me, so those probably are going to be less relevant here. And does this mean anything to you?
G,
X.
Go xylophone.
GXDR, doctor. I don't know. Jake's not
Yeah,
a doctor.
doctor.
Yeah, maybe. But
Go to the xylophone doctor.
Go to the xylophone doctor. But
Or
does
go
that
to
actually
the
mean
doctor for
anything
an
to you?
X-ray. Maybe.
Maybe.
No.
But not really. Like
No.
you could make it stretch, but not really.
No, not
okay.
at all.
But those are the ones that you dealt
Are they
to
gonna
yourself.
say
I don't know.
JAKE?
Maybe.
Stop
Maybe.
it.
It'd be crazy right here.
You're
How about
kidding
go
me.
to the bottom one, the one that you dealt first. Flip that over. What's that?
It's a J.
It's a J. It's a J. Okay, go to the next one. Which one is that?
Stop. This is not an A. This is not an A. It's an E.
It's an E. His name does have an E in it.
It does have.
Okay.
Okay, the next one.
Yeah, next one is a
T.
T. Jet.
Stop it.
Jets. Oh, you spelled Jets.
Are you kidding me?
Does Jake like the Jets?
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
Is he a Jets fan?
The biggest.
The biggest.
I'm freaking out.
Wait, you know what? One more thing, Alana, though. Because these are the ones you also dealt to me, right? And
Uh-huh.
again, you shuffle these as much as you wanted
I
to.
shuffled them.
Okay. So you said this doesn't mean anything to you, though, right? Okay. And you said, I said, picture your first date. It was 20-degree weather.
Yeah.
When was your first date?
February 8th, 2021.
So it was February, which is why it was so cold.
yeah.
That's so strange because this G is worth 2 points, which is 2 for February.
Oh my God.
And the X is worth how many points?
8.
8. So 2, 8.
Stop.
And you said what year was your first date with him?
2021.
2021. So there's the D and the R. 2, 8, 2, 1.
I'm freaking out. How?
That really is the date of your first date?
Yes.
Yeah. And that says it, right? Like 2, 8, 2, 1.
Yes. No, it's engraved on my ring. That is the date.
There you go.
What?
Go Jets.
How? And okay. So
And these are just because there's going to be people who are skeptical or even listening, but like all the cards
no,
are actually
all
different.
the cards
right?
are
Okay,
actually
cool,
different,
cool,
and
cool,
I
cool.
shuffled, and I didn't see you switch to extra. I'm freaking out. That is crazy.
Thanks.
That is so crazy. Okay, so I mean, I have a million questions on how. I know the number one rule is a magician never reveals his secrets.
Can't say that.
No, that is crazy.
Thanks.
Okay, wow. I mean, no wonder people would want to go on a date with you after seeing that. Like, it's like mind blowing.
It is fun.
That is crazy. I remember I went on a few dates with this guy once who he was really into card tricks. He wasn't a full-time magician,
Yeah.
but he was really good at card tricks. And on our date, he was telling me this, and I didn't believe him. So we went to CVS and bought a deck of cards. And we were walking through Times Square, and he was, I guess, super outgoing. So he was
Yeah.
like letting people, like strangers, come up to him to show them card tricks.
That's
and
wild.
I've never been more like, oh my God, this guy is the coolest person in the world than in that moment.
I love that that was your reaction.
It was so cool.
Yeah.
It was
So
so
he just went up
like,
to strangers in Times Square?
yes.
That's hilarious.
I was like, so this is incredible.
Yeah. That's so cool.
Yeah.
I love that.
That's so special.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Oh my God, I'm still not over that. That is so crazy. Wow. Guys, I can't come back from that. Okay. How have you applied different aspects of your life to your magic or vice versa? Like, how has your magic impacted your life?
I think doing magic does a lot of good things for just how you see the world, which is, Penn and Teller, the magicians in like Vegas.
I do now.
Okay, if you don't. There's this Penn is a duo, but one of them is like magic is forced empathy. It forces you to think of something from somebody else's perspective, right? Because I have my perspective of the trick that just happened, and I know how it works, right? And you have your perspective, and presumably you do not, right?
My perspective is just mind blown.
Right, which is great.
I'm still in shock.
I'm very glad. And we have two different perspectives,
Yeah.
right? And sometimes when you're doing a show, there might be audience members with like 3 different perspectives going on. And you have to keep those in mind.
Yeah.
And that's a really nice way to go through life, I think, of realizing that like you don't have all of the information, right? And doing what I do on stage, I do a lot of like mentalism and mind reading and things like that. And oftentimes like people are like, oh, can you do that in real life? And it's like, I'm okay saying that usually no. Like there's the occasional time when you can make stuff obviously like happen outside of a show. But like,
Mhm.
I don't claim to have any special powers or anything like that. Like when I'm on a date, like I'm just as oblivious as the next guy.
Yeah.
And that's like a nice thing. Like you learn that like it's a privilege to like be inside somebody's head. It's a privilege to learn what they're thinking. And magic is a really, really nice reminder of all of that, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. It also just helps you connect to people or learn ways to connect people.
Absolutely.
That's just so far beyond what any normal person would be doing.
Yeah.
Like you're thinking about things, you're more intuitive probably.
Sure. You're thinking multiple steps ahead. You can think of like,
Yeah.
how would you surprise somebody, right?
Yeah.
Like there's got the creative ways to do that. Like
Right.
one time, like years ago in like college, like it wasn't even a magic trick. It was just like magical, like thinking, I guess, of like this girl I was flirting with. Like I found out what kind of like ice cream that she liked. So I just dropped the Ben and Jerry's on her door and just texted her and was like, open your door, right? It's not a magic trick. It's just
But
like,
it's magical.
it's magical, right? And people want those magical things all the time. And it's like, again, that was not a magic trick, but I do think that being a magician helped me think of like, what is a cooler way to present somebody with Ben and Jerry's than just saying like, here it is.
Yeah. Or what's a good way to show somebody I'm thinking about them?
Exactly.
Like creating this unique and personalized experience for them.
Yeah.
Like
that's
that,
what-
like the card thing, like that
Sure.
was personalized.
Absolutely. Yeah.
to me.
That's
Yeah.
you, right?
Yeah.
And you're more likely to remember that than if it was just like, watch me do a trick.
Right.
And you learn how valuable that is. And so much of magic is just going so many steps further than somebody thinks that you would reasonably go.
Yeah.
And that creates these moments for people. Of like, I do stuff all the time with people's like phone numbers or passwords. Or I want to use personal information. I really do. As long as they're okay with it, I want to use personal information because like they're gonna be like, oh my God, like that was for me, right? Even if it's just as simple as like, oh, he learned my name. That's so special to people. And it's like, that's why I love it if people can go. Like I did a show the other day for someone's birthday and left her with this little souvenir. And she and her boyfriend were like, oh, we're going to frame this, which means so much to me. I'm so glad that they do because it's a good memory of that experience.
Yeah. Wait, you do like private parties?
Absolutely.
That's
yeah.
so fun.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay, my birthday's not until August, but
we can
now
talk.
now I know what I'm doing because
Yeah.
I never know what to do for my birthday.
Yeah. No, I literally did her birthday.
So another thing with like kind of thinking of these moments and, you know, being a little more intuitive, first impressions.
Yeah.
Those happen and they're very important in dating, in relationships, when you meet other people in someone's lives. They're also very important when you're performing on a stage.
For sure.
So how do you approach first impressions, and what have you learned from the first impressions in your performing that you've applied to your real life?
So I think in both situations, I can talk about performing first is like, you just want to generate a lot of trust as quickly as possible. So for me, like most people go to like maybe like 5 magic shows in their life. Like that's, I don't think it's like studied, but I've had enough interactions to be like, that's a pretty reasonable number. So they probably haven't seen a magic show in a very long time and they probably won't for a while, which means people are going to go in pretty skeptical most of the time. And so I want people to know as quickly as possible, you're in good hands. Like you're going to be able to sit back and you're in good hands because people put their own reputations. They're like, oh, they're telling their friends. They want their friends to like them. Like they care about whether this is good for their own sake. And I don't take that lightly, that they're also giving me their time. And so I want to establish trust as quickly as possible. And so I just have like 2 tricks that I do at the top of the show that are just very quick, very strong, and I know is going to get people on my side very, very rapidly because a lot of the tricks I do later in the show are like longer 10, 15-minute routines, which I love to do. I think there's room for that to happen. But you want people within the first 5 minutes or quicker really to be like, oh, he's got it. Like he's comfortable up here.
Yeah. Well, I love the overlap of that with dating because same thing, going into dates, people are skeptical. They've been on however many first dates before that haven't turned into second dates. They've been on horrible first dates. They've given up on dating, but here they are trying again.
Yep. Totally. And I think it's like, we've all had those times when it's a first date and you just fall into it immediately and you're like, thank God. Like you're like, even if I don't end up with this person, at least this is not going to be like pulling teeth for 2 hours or whatever you're doing.
What is the secret to unlocking that instant trust?
In magic or dating?
Either, both.
Oh man, is it gonna sound cheesy to just be like being authentic? Like, I think it's just like, just being yourself. I remember I backpacked after college and I was in Vietnam and I remember like, which was awesome. And like when you're backpacking, you just meet people. I mean, more so than even in New York, right? Like all the time. I remember like I was going to go to dinner with this girl and this guy and I thought the girl was cute, but like it wasn't a date. We were like 3 people just going to dinner because we, were at a hostel in Vietnam. I remember thinking like, oh, should I like dress up for this or should I just like I remember like I had this green Patagonia. I was like, should I just wear the green Patagonia? And I just wore the green Patagonia because I was like, you know what? I'm just like, this isn't a date. This is not a pressure situation. I'm just going to wear this thing that I like and not worry too much about it. And we ended up, this girl and I like watching a movie on this rooftop in Vietnam, which was awesome, like a good travel story. And it's just like, I feel like you're just like, yes, there's of course, you know, times to look really good and all that good stuff. But like, I also think there's a lot of times to just be who you want to be, and people can realize when you're being that person, and they can realize when you're trying to posture to them. You know, I think it's the same on stage.
So true. It's so true. I mean, my first date with Jake outside in 20-degree weather at Quality Eats.
Why did you eat outside?
Was
it pandemic?
It was COVID. It was beginning. It was 2021. So it was like vaccines were starting to roll out and be available to like the 65 plus crowd, and so there was no indoor dining. And you couldn't just go to a bar and get drinks. You had to also order food. So we went to Quality Eats. We were freezing. And I wore leggings under my jeans. I wore like 3 layers. And then my biggest, like poofiest white long coat, gloves, a scarf, and a hat. And I brought a portable hand warmer.
Amazing.
And he always says he loved that. That I just showed up and I wanted to be warm. And I was like, here, like we can share my hand warmer so we can both be warm. And like I wasn't trying to like look and act cool. I was just like, it's really freaking cold out. Like this is crazy that this is how we have to date, but like let's make the most of it.
Totally. I think it's just about acknowledging the room. And that's one of the biggest lessons I've learned over the past couple of years doing magic, of like, if you walk on stage and the room is really hot, that needs to be the first thing out of your mouth. Like, because that's what the audience is thinking about, right? Or if so many things can happen during a show. Someone's phone can go off, or there can be just a noise that you hear. You need to acknowledge it, because otherwise people are just ignoring that. They're like, does he not know that this person's phone is going off right now?
Right.
And I think it's the same thing in dating, where you're just like, you just have to acknowledge your circumstances. Like if it's cold, it's cold. If it's hot, if something is awkward, you can say it's awkward. It's just like you want to be present and aware. And I think being on stage teaches you that a lot, to just be like, acknowledge everything that's going on, and it's totally fine.
For sure. I feel like there's a lot of overlaps too with that in dating, where it's like sometimes like awkward things can happen on dates.
Absolutely.
Like huge fails can happen. You can get really embarrassed, and that can also happen on stage. Like have you ever like botched a magic trick?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. How do you handle that? How do you bounce back from magic or date gone wrong?
Yeah, I mean, in magic, it depends what you're doing. Ideally, if you're on stage, if I'm on stage, I'm usually doing something that I have a lot of faith in, but also I have maybe the occasional backup plan that I can do. I remember one time when I was on stage in like June, so not too long ago, it's December now, and I was like, something went wrong where I needed like a piece of information basically, and I realized I did not have it. And I was just like, like a complete blank. I did not have this thing. And I was like, all right, well, I'm in the middle of a trick right now. What am I going to do? And I realized there's this other like impromptu thing that I know how to do that like doesn't require any setup. So I went into that, and it made it look like that was the path I was going to take either way. And so it's just like, you have this toolbox of things. Like the same analogy would be like, you have a lot of questions that you're going to ask a podcast interviewee, and you're not going to ask all of them, but you know you're going to have places that you can bounce if something is going wrong. And so I think that's the best analogy. And I think on a date, it's to just fully acknowledge it. Like if I'm trying to think, I don't know if I have an example off the top of my head, but like, for example, like let's say you spilled water on the table, which like could totally happen. Right?
Yeah.
I think instead of trying to be like pretending that it didn't happen, you're just like, I'm so sorry. That is so embarrassing. I can't believe that happened on the first date. And they're probably, if they're a good person, going to be like, happens to everyone. That's fine.
Right. Or like, let's say, I mean, the reality is we're all going on a lot of dates.
Yeah.
And so you might forget that this person has a golden retriever and not a Maltipoo like the person you were going out with the week before. And you can just, I think, owning it and laughing it off and being like, that's so embarrassing. I'm not going to pretend I'm not going on other dates. Like I mixed your dog up with this other dog. Please apologize to Goldie for me. Like I will never forget Goldie ever again.
It's just owning it. Like, I think that's all it is in life, in magic, whatever. It's just, they just want to see someone who's confident and who is comfortable making mistakes in any circumstance. And it's just like, I've definitely gotten better at that on stage too, of something you can just be like sometimes people won't react very well, and that's okay too. Maybe I chose the wrong person, but I've gotten better at just being like, oh, you sound thrilled about that, sarcastically, and just and it just in that, and then that gets a laugh, right? So it's just like, it's just about listening and just being very, very aware and being totally okay with whatever's thrown at you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, laughing it off is, I think, like the best thing you can do in most moments. And
it's the only thing you can do.
Yeah, like I think the worst thing you can do is ignoring it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I completely agree.
Yeah. Like I was walking in we're at the studio right now, and I got onto the block, and I swore I was behind Max. Like, I was like, Max is like 5 feet in front of me. He has headphones in, but I feel like I should be like, hello, like, Max, hey, it's me. And we kept walking in the same direction, but I didn't know if I should like run up to like catch up to him. Like, what if it's not him?
Yeah.
And so then I like kept my distance, and then like we get closer and closer to the door, and like it looked like he was slowing down, and he wasn't, and it wasn't him.
Yeah.
And I walk up, and Max is sitting there. I'm like, I almost just made such a fool of myself and like jumped the wrong guy. But that was funny, and it was like a way to say like, okay, I was wrong, but hi, I'm coming in real hot right here, and like we're gonna have a great time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I'm dying to know what's in this bag.
Yeah, you want to find out?
Yeah, guys, there's been a paper bag, like a little red gift bag between us this whole time.
And your present.
He brought me a present. I have no idea what's there.
Yeah, so we're gonna play a little game.
Okay.
Multi-part game.
Okay.
So I want you to think of a city that you'd want to go on a date in. You have one in your head?
I have one in my head.
Amazing. And just to be clear, you haven't told this to anybody.
Correct.
I don't know what this is.
Correct.
Okay. So when I was in high school, I started this note on my phone of like date ideas, right?
Shut up.
And then why did you do the same thing?
No, I just have a list of every single date Jake and I have ever been on.
Oh, that's cool. Mine is just ideas, and yours is history.
Highly
But yours is
recommend
cool.
when you meet someone, start that note.
That's
it's
a
the
very cool
coolest
idea.
thing you'll ever
Do you look back on it a lot?
We'll play it as like a drinking game of like if we're stuck on the subway or in a line, we'll just be like, okay, like on what date number did we do this?
Oh,
or
I love
like
that.
how many times have we gone to this place, and it's all written down.
And you still do it?
Yeah, our wedding was date 537.
Aw.
And we're on like 620 now or something.
That is
like
so
that.
cool.
Yeah.
All right, I've never heard
It's
that before. I
incredible.
think it's a great idea.
It's incredible.
I don't know if my list can live up to that, hype, but I do have it, and it's at like 50 things. So
Okay.
I want you to name a number. I told you I was going to put you on the spot, but it's not going to be too hard. You're going to name a number between 1 and 50. We will go to that place, to that thing on the list.
37.
So I will say, just because it's being recorded, that's a very commonly named number.
What?
Which is okay. I can explain it more off air
Wait,
if you want
what?
to, but it's a very which is fine.
I only did it because I just said 537.
Oh, that's also fair. You can do 37 as long as you're content that that's a free choice. You can change your mind if you
now
want.
I don't know.
And it's tough, right? You can change. But I'll give you 5 seconds. So I'm going to count down from 5, and then you have to either change or lock it in. So 5.
And yell it out.
4. Yeah. 3, 2, 1.
8.
8. Okay. Is that your final answer?
I don't know.
Up to you.
Yes.
Okay. So I want to show you this.
What would happen if I kept 37?
Bad things. So it's the most recent one because I
Date
prepared for
ideas.
this, right? Date ideas. Literally under this is
Seeing other people prep.
right? Okay. So you can see like number
out
1
already.
is LaGuardia Roulette. I've never done that, but I want to go to LaGuardia. And
So do I.
I want to do it so bad.
So badly.
It'd be a, not a first date, but like LaGuardia Roulette.
Ugh.
Catan I wrote watching the Jets
Love
just because you. And anyway, I just want you to confirm that we're not changing anything, but what is number 8?
Candle making class.
Which is maybe a mid date, but that's what has been chosen. If you scroll through, just make sure there's no other like candle related thing.
Where are we going with this?
That's the only like candle thing on the list, right?
You got me a candle.
What'd you say?
Did you get me a candle?
Well, there's something in that bag.
Did you get me a candle that has the city on it?
Look,
I'm.
there's a few things in the bag.
What's happening?
There's a few things in the bag.
Okay, there's nothing else that
Nothing else candle
on
related.
Here.
All right, so could you? There's a few things in the bag. You can take the bag.
I'm freaking out. I'm taking the bag.
There's just maybe grab the thing that's on top.
Should I look in,
contents.
or-
Yeah, you can just take. So that there's a little card.
There's a little card.
Wait, I'll take that for a second.
has
Card with a bunch of letters.
letters.
On it, right? Card with a bunch of letters on it. I'm gonna keep this in view of everyone the entire time.
I'm grabbing the thing that feels like a candle.
Yeah, I grabbed the thing that feels like a candle.
It's a candle.
It's a candle. It doesn't have a city on it, but it
It's
does.
a
It is a
candle.
candle, right? And you
It's
chose
a
candle making class.
I chose candle making class.
Very good.
What if I had stuck with
I
37?
don't know. I mean, yeah, what is 37? Let's see. I honestly don't know. 37
it.
is New York Botanical Garden, which is good, but not.
Smells really good.
Yeah, scented candle.
Wow.
But there's also
Yeah.
one more thing in that thing, Alana.
I'm freaking out. The last thing in here is a lighter for the candle.
Then we can light the candle.
We're
real
gonna
quick.
light the candle.
You're thinking of that city. Uh-oh, down goes the iPad. All right, we're gonna blow this out immediately after, but don't worry. Now,
Okay.
could I give this to you
You can give this to me.
out loud? Because I want this to be in your hands. Out loud, the city that you're thinking of is
Tokyo.
Tokyo, Japan.
Yes.
Could you just start? Don't burn the card, but just start holding it over the fire. Because there's letters on the card, just for people who are listening, right?
How
Just go a little
Whoa,
lower. You
the
see,
letters
some
are
of them are starting to
disappearing.
disappear, right?
The letters are disappearing. Shut the fuck up. All the letters disappeared except for the letters that spell Tokyo. Are you kidding me? What?
I'm gonna blow this out just so we don't get in trouble.
What? How?
That is what happened, right? Just to be clear, just in case, can I show the camera?
That is the craziest.
Everything except for the letters that spell Tokyo are gone.
Yeah, how? Wait,
That's
what?
for you. You have a lot of souvenirs from today. But the candle and the Tokyo thing.
It smells so good in here.
I know. I mean, it'll burn it for longer.
So good.
I just don't know what their fire things are in this studio.
Okay, that is
That's
crazy.
what's in the back.
How the 8, the candle.
Yeah, 8. I mean, you changed your mind too.
I changed my mind.
Yeah.
I was going to say 4.
You're gonna say 4.
I almost said 4.
Okay.
But then I said 8.
Wait, 4 may have been watching the Jet. Maybe it's Catan. Regardless. That could
There
be
was
good for you, too.
Catan wasn't going to fit in here.
Catan's not gonna fit in there. Great game, but not gonna fit in there.
Oh my god. Okay, do you know, let's take this one step further. Why Tokyo?
Oh, why Tokyo? That's a good question.
Dun dun dun.
Dun dun dun. Are you planning a trip there with Jake?
No.
I'm gonna think on it. I don't know.
We love sushi,
Oh, you love sushi.
and they have a lot of amazing sushi. So I've
Tokyo-
heard.
Tokyo does have amazing sushi.
So I've
also
heard. That's why I picked
Are
Tokyo.
you planning on going? You think?
Probably not.
You could make it eventually.
Yes. Realistically, this is a hard pill to swallow. It's like realistically, if we were to go to that side of the world, we would have done our honeymoon.
Sure.
Now it's like we hate leaving our dog.
Oh yeah, the dog is hard.
Like leaving him. Like sure, we could travel, but like we get sad when we travel because we miss him so much.
Yeah.
And like that would have to be like a longer trip.
Yeah, yeah.
And
that's
so like I just don't
fair. You
know.
gotta have
if
a
it's
friend who
gonna
gets like
happen.
married in Tokyo, and you just like have to go.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, by the way, you don't have to hold all those things.
I'm still freaking out. Okay, that was so crazy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Of course.
I'm mind blown. I will be there on Sunday, January 5th, and
Amazing.
every other Sunday after that. Let me pick up this iPad.
Yeah. I hope the iPad is okay. Post magic trick.
I can't wait to rewatch this back. This is so crazy.
Yeah, you can watch.
Okay, I have a handful of like spitfire questions for you.
All right, let's do it.
I'm excited to hear your responses.
Great.
What is the most magical date you've ever been on?
Most magical date I've ever been on is a great question. One of them for sure was watching this movie on a hostel roof in Vietnam, for sure. That was awesome. Another one, my ex-girlfriend and I in college, we went to school in DC. We went to like the top of the Washington Monument, which was very cool. Like having
Ooh,
lived in
I didn't even
DC,
know you could do that.
Yeah, they reopened it, and so like
That's the tall
that was the tall
pointy one.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And I've lived in DC for 4 years and then never gone to the top of it. So that was it was just cool. Like I was like,
Yeah.
oh, we're just like experiencing stuff together. So yeah, those were both awesome. Like, I don't know, for me, it's just like what makes something fun is just like a genuine experience of something,
Yeah.
you know?
I feel like, and sorry, Jake, this isn't about you, but I'm trying to think of my most magical date.
Yeah.
And what actually comes to mind is like a friend date that I went on,
Oh,
where when I worked at Hinge, they did these monthly date stipends.
Mhm.
And we got at the time like $250 a month to like go on a date.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it just had to be like something unique with someone else.
Mhm.
And you had to like write a review of like what you did after.
Cool.
And so it pushed me to do all these things that I never would have done before
Yeah.
or never had done. And my friend and I lived over the East River at that time, and she was over, and we were looking out the window, and we saw people jet skiing by, and it was like a Friday, and she was like, I wonder how people like go on jet skis in New York City.
Yeah.
And I go, let's find out. And I Googled it, and we booked it for the next morning.
That's awesome.
And we went jet skiing in New York City. It was hands down one of the coolest things I've ever done.
Yeah.
And like we shared a jet ski. It was such a fun experience doing it together. And also to like, we saw the city from a perspective, an angle we had never seen it before.
Yeah, totally.
And that most people never will.
Yeah.
Even like being on a boat, like if you're on the ferry, you're still like higher up.
Yep.
Like
No, but you're,
this
like,
was,
low
we
down
were
on the water,
low
yeah.
down. Like I jumped in the water at one point,
Oh, I
which
love
a
it.
lot of people
Was it
think
dirty?
is super questionable. I mean, apparently it's the cleanest it's been in years.
Yeah.
So
then you have to do it.
in front of
I wouldn't judge you.
Lady Liberty, I did that. But it was so cool. And yeah, like to me, like that's magical.
Absolutely. It just like people, it's so funny. There's this really great magician who's like, people talk about magical experiences all the time. Very rarely are they talking about a magic show.
Ah.
Right? But we are all after those magical experiences
Yeah.
all the time. And
Yeah.
it's just about like, it's about like novelty and spontaneity and, that stuff really matters.
But maybe they're rarely talking about a magic show because they're not going to enough of them.
Yeah, for sure. And I also think that those moments do, like, going to a magic show is a contrived way to experience magic. Like, you're like, I'm going to go see a magic show, whereas, like, yours was more spontaneous, right?
Right.
But I do think you can have, and you should have, many magical moments within a magic show. And you're very consciously thinking of, like, how do you not make it about you, the performer, and make it about the audience and give them, like, when you're at a concert and you can feel that magnetism,
oh my God,
energy, right? And
nothing like it.
There's nothing like it. And that's what, at least, maybe I'm not there yet, but, like, I'm trying to create with a magic show of, like, I hope people are there and they really feel this homey kind of vibe of just like, yes, we're here and it's happening and it's magical.
Have you ever gone on a date to a magic show?
I have never gone on a date to a magic show.
Would you, or does that feel?
No, I definitely would. Wait, I'm lying. I did do that back in high school. I went to see David Blaine, my high school girlfriend, so I did do that.
I'm still freaking out. Sorry,
so
about everything that's happened here.
We've had a lot of crazy stuff. Yes, I definitely would. I have nothing against that. It just hasn't happened for like we said. Like like I haven't had like a serious relationship in New York, so it's like sometimes that would be later down the line,
right? Of
like if you're gonna invest that money. But no, I absolutely would.
Yeah. What would your idea of the perfect date be? Besides, of course, not being you and taking yourself and a date to go see stand-up magic.
Of course, which is the perfect
at the Gutter.
Honestly, like, if I could just have my pick, I'd probably be some like crazy experience, like go on some crazy hike or like run a marathon or like skydive. Like, I don't know.
Wait, that should be the next thing. You did the marathon. Now do a first date-thon.
That'd be hilarious. That'd be great. That'd be such a funny content thing of like just making people have a first date and run a marathon together.
You should make a video of like who wants to go on a first date at this half marathon with me.
That'd be awesome.
And that way, they're like volunteering themselves to do this and that they're like down to be on content.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
That'd be so funny. It's a great, and also it's funny because like you see the explosion of like run clubs right now, and I think the reason is like there's a whole joke that it's just a place to meet people, but it's like it is a place to meet people because everyone is more vulnerable in that situation. Like you're sweaty in a way that you would never show up to a date sweaty, right? But you're also linked around a common thing,
right?
Which is really
nice. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. What is your advice for somebody who wants to keep the magic alive in their relationship?
Surprise each other. I really, and I don't mean that in like a cliche. I mean like literally, there are like studies about how people resonate with surprise in magic shows. Of like, you can like, there's multiple ways this trick could have gone down, right? There could be like a piece of paper that just says 2821 for the date of your first date. That's very boring, right?
Right.
This is a more interesting, like, it's about the route that you take to get to that destination. Surprise is inherently more interesting and setting people's expectations, hence like why we like comedy or movies or anything like that. And so I legitimately believe that if you want to have like a more magical date or relationship or whatever, I'm no relationship expert, but it's just like actively thinking how you are injecting surprise into something, I think can make someone's day. Like, it's like the 80-20 rule, right? You don't need to do it every day.
Right.
You just need to every once in a while make them know that you're thinking about them.
I'm even thinking about like being out to dinner with somebody and you weren't sure like which things to order, and so like you were really torn between two dishes and they ordered one of them and you would get up to go to the bathroom and ask them, can you also bring the other one?
Exactly.
Like that's such a nice
it's so
surprise.
You ever like gone up, you go to the bathroom and you give them your credit card to pay.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you could just pay or you could do that.
Yeah.
And that second one is going to be remembered more.
Totally.
And it's the same action.
Totally. This is a different type of date concept, but I feel like it was so memorable for us, and I feel like it's also like with the element of surprise. But have you ever done dinner in the dark?
Yes, not like with my friend, not on a date, but it was awesome. I was
so
with my friend in
cool.
London.
Dinner in the dark, and we also recently did dinner in the dark sushi omakase version.
Oh wow, that's cool.
So cool.
In New York?
Yeah.
Oh, very cool.
It was really cool because we didn't know what was coming.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And it's we're all after that thing. We're all after like, what is the novel thing? I'm gonna try that. Like that's so cool.
You have to go.
You just don't know that it exists.
Exactly.
Right? But it's like once you find it, you're like, where has this been all my life?
I can't wait to do it again.
Yeah.
What is the most romantic thing you've ever done using magic?
Most romantic thing I've ever done using magic. That's a great question. One time, this was for in a magic show, but it was meaningful. So I'll give you I think it's a better example than some random thing I come up with, which was like, there was this trick where like this person like there was a bowl of fortune cookies on stage, and like we opened them and verified that they were like all different, and then someone chose a fortune cookie, and it had a fortune about like her and her son, which was super cool for her. And this is like, it was like my friend's mom, so it was not like a romantic situation, but it like meant a lot to her, which was really cool. And it was one of those things where like that trick wasn't like hard per se. The hard part was just like figuring out how to pull that off and give her that moment. And it was nice. I still remember it versus like, oh, I found someone's card. Great. It's like, no, it's nice to actually be able to do something for somebody, you know?
Yeah.
So I like that a lot.
I mean, that is like, I'm like getting emotional about magic right now. But like, I feel like that is what makes something magical. It's like, it's just that moment that is thought out and that is unexpected.
Yes.
Like we are so used to our routines and just like the mundane daily life that we live. And to have something that's unexpected and surprising and catered to us or with us in mind is so unique and special.
Yeah, and that's what breaks people out of it. Like, Tess and I saw it a bunch when we were on tour this summer of like, you just meet people and they were just like, yeah, we just needed a little magic in our lives tonight. That was nice. And it's like, that's all. Like, we're not doctors. We're not saving people's lives. But we do get
you're adding to people's lives.
We are adding people's lives. And we're really lucky. I mean, even like I've listened to this podcast and like you've added to my life, which is so cool, right? And it's like you can make these tangible impacts on people, and you don't. Nothing against being a doctor. Be a great doctor. That's so cool. But like a lot of us won't be, right? But you can still very tangibly impact people's lives with magic or comedy or a podcast, and it's really cool because I think like that's just what it takes to have a fulfilling career or life is like you get to just see people's faces and you get to see that it worked.
I love that. Oh my God, I could do like 5 more hours of this. Okay. I end every episode with this one question, and that is, what is the best piece of dating or relationship advice you've ever received or have to give?
I think I have to go received because I don't know what I have to give.
So much.
Can I do it from Finding Nemo? Is that legal?
Oh my God, please.
Great. I mean, probably people know what's coming, but just keep swimming. I think about it in dating. I think about it in life. Like I'm a runner, so I think about it like if I need to like run or rarely when I'm actually swimming. But I don't know. I think it's so simple and it's so true. I have it I have it put on a little note card on my wall of just like life is just gonna throw things at you. That's fine, and you get up every day. You put one foot in front of the other, and you keep going. Like you just keep swimming. And I think it's not like profound relationship advice. It's just like you just get up if you have a difficult situation. You just keep going. It's really nice.
I love that. Just keep swimming.
Yeah.
Just keep swimming. Max, this has been so amazing. Can you please remind the people where they can go see Stand Up Magic, when they can go see it, how they can get in touch with you, where they can follow you, all that good stuff?
Happily, yeah. So Stand Up Magic NYC is our website and our Instagram, like at standupmagicnyc.com, and then also on Instagram. I am Max Davidson Magic on Instagram, and you can find me there very easily. If you're welcome to reach out, my website's maxdavidsonmagic.com. It's all the same names. That if you just search in the Google, you will find me. I'm pretty accessible.
The Google.
Yeah, if you search around the Google, I'm happy to do shows. And yeah, Stand Up Magic is every other Sunday at the Gutter in Williamsburg, starting back on January 5th. We've done a little holiday break, but we are coming back. I'm so excited. And we're going on tour to a bunch of cities in March. So we'll be all over. So look us up. I would love to see you or meet you.
Follow Max. I will have all that in the show notes. I will have the ticket link in the show notes. And I will be there on January 5th, unless everyone listening DMs me a different Sunday that they're all available to come, and we'll all plan to go together on another date. But I will be there. I'm so excited. Guys, remember, $25 ticket, no fees, no drink minimums, cheap drinks. And you can bowl after, and it's an amazing date or friend date or take yourself. You never know who you'll meet. It's going to be amazing. I'm so excited, and I'm still mind blown. I don't know how you did this. That was so cool. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. This is awesome.